to KSR Datavizon. Today we are going to see about JavaScript. So JavaScript is designed for both beginners and professional, right? But why JavaScript, right? So JavaScript is used to create client-side dynamic pages. So what do you mean by client-side dynamic pages? You can see Flipkart, Amazon, and all, right? So they have been designed using JavaScript, Angular, all those technologies, right? So that is called client side. What is dynamic pages? So JavaScript, I mean, we have designed the pages using JavaScript, but it needs some data from the backend. So that data has to be pulled from the database or middleware and then rendered in the client side. That's why we call it as client side dynamic pages. Okay, so JavaScript is used for client side, but it fetches some of the information from the backend. The next thing is JavaScript is a object-based scripting language. In I mean, in college or school or anywhere, right? You might have seen like what is a object-based programming, right? So OOPS concept and everything will be there. Even JavaScript is based out of object-based scripting language, which has inheritance, polymorphism, and everything is there, which is lightweight and cross-platform compatibility. So what is by cross-platform? I can use this JavaScript in any kind of operating system, right? Whatever the code I have written, I can use it in Mac OS, Windows OS, Linux OS, or any kind of devices like mobile or whatever. The next thing you have to understand is JavaScript is not a compiled language. It is a translated, interpreted language. It's not a compiled language like C or Java. Okay, so where it compiles into some other code and then that code has to be compatible with your particular operating system. That is not the way in JavaScript because it is going to be a translated language. So JavaScript translator, what it is going to do, it is going to embed in the browser. The browser, you might have seen like lot of browser, right? Like Chrome is the popular one, or Firefox, right? Or Opera, whatever browser we are going to use. JavaScript translator will embed into the browser and it will translate the JavaScript, which is understandable by the web browser. Right? So any kind of web browser will be able to understand the JavaScript code using JavaScript translator. That is the reason we are using JavaScript. So a little bit, I mean, we'll go deep dive into the JavaScript, right? So as we said, it is a object-oriented programming language and it is lightweight and we can use it for creating a web pages. Fine. But when it has been created along with the JavaScript, what is the other technologies we can use it? All those things we'll see one by one, right? So as we said, it is an interpreted, full-fledged programming language that enables dynamic interactivity on websites. So what do you mean by dynamic interactivity? We can embed any kind of images, audios, videos with the help of HTML. Right? So that we can see like you have seen like lot of movies are using HTML plus JavaScript, and the JavaScript have been used to embed some of the uh, active script and everything, so that you will be able to see the movie or audio or video or whatever. Right? So it was introduced in 1995, and it was created by Netscape Navigator browser. Right? Then after that, all the providers started using this JavaScript as a client-side scripting language. Okay, so with the JavaScript, we can create modern web application, right? So without reloading the page every time. So that's how the reason we got Angular, right? So when we have designed the site earlier stage before Angular and JavaScript came in, each and every time the page has to be reloaded. So it takes a lot of performance issue that has been moved away with the help of modern JavaScript as well as Angular. So that's why we prefer JavaScript as well as Angular. So what are the features of JavaScript, right? So it is a all popular web browser uses JavaScript as a built-in execution environment, right? You don't need to install anything. All the browser will support JavaScript, irrespective of any kind of operating system. It follows the same syntax and structure of C programming language. So that is the reason we call it as a structured programming language. So there are two different types of languages. So structured language and functional programming language, right? So C is structured and others are functional programming language. So JavaScript is a weakly typed language. What do you mean that? I mean, it is case insensitive, right? It is not case insensitive, it is case sensitive, right? So that also you have to remember. So if you type lowercase and uppercase, both are different. Okay. It is lightweight and it is a interpreted language, and it uses a lot of object-oriented programming language concepts like classes, polymorphism, inheritance, and everything. And the other thing is you have to know is JavaScript is supportable in different operating system, irrespective of any operating system or any device, we can use it, whether it is Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever. It provides good control to the user over the web browser. So in the web browser, you can use this JavaScript anywhere. So what are the applications that have been designed or the component can be used using JavaScript? So as we said, we can create a interactive websites. You can use it for client-side validation. For example, like you are typing your age, right? Age can be only number, not alphabets, right? For that we can use it. Dynamic drop-down. You are having a city drop-down, state drop-down, gender drop-down. For that we can use it. Displaying date and time. You want to have a date picker, you can use it. You want to have a pop-up window, dialog box, like you are giving an alert box telling like you don't have fund, or you want to move away from this page to another page, or displaying a clock. All those things we'll be using it. Here is a sample example, right? So JavaScript application always it has to start with the script tag. So similar to HTML, we need to have a start tag and end tag with the angle bracket, right? So within that particular script tag, we are writing document dot write, and within that I am giving the content. Hello JavaScript, by JavaScript. I'm just giving some syntax, some sentence I am giving. So I have to see this sentence in my page, right? That is my thought. So within that script, and then I have used W3 schools sites to run the particular JavaScript. You can use it in normal HTML page also, or you can use it in the uh, ideal tool also, right? You can use it and then call it. So we'll see how we can use it in HTML. Here we have seen like in a direct browser how we can use this JavaScript. So when you run it, you can see the same content is replicated in the same page. So this is about JavaScript. So we learned some of the basics about JavaScript. Let us see, I mean, what is, so we discussed about JavaScript, right? So it is the time to look into whatever our understanding is correct or not, right? So JavaScript is a, what kind of language? Is it object-based language, object-oriented language, procedural language? None of the other. Okay, so we went through it, so you have to answer it so that, I mean, it will be so more interactive, right? So I'll give you a few seconds. You can recollect what is the language is about, right? And the second question also, what is JavaScript? So is it JavaScript is a scripting language or an assembly language or a compile language or none of them, right? So I'll give you a few seconds, just recollect, and then let us go and see the answer. Okay, it's time. Let us go and see the answer. So first question is JavaScript is an dash language. Yes, you're correct. It is an object-oriented programming language like Java or PHP. Okay. So what is the next question? What is JavaScript? Is it a scripting language, assembly language, compile language? Let's see the answer. Yes, you are correct. It is a scripting language. You can use along with HTML and CSS to create a interactive web page. Okay. So hope the session is so informative, a basic introduction about JavaScript. Down the line, we'll see more about the programming, how we can embed JavaScript with HTML, how we can do client-side validation. Thanks everyone for your time.